Hey, good morning, everybody. Hopefully, everybody had a fantastic holiday weekend. Thank you for joining me today. As I mentioned over the weekend, I'm not going to trade with emotion. I'm not going to have any uh, pre. I haven't decided whether I'm going to be a bull or a bear today. So I haven't predetermined anything. Why can I say that? Because the market's been choppy, and I've got a number of factors that I'm going to share with you that could be seen as a bull case scenario or a bear case scenario for the market. So let's get right into it. Winter storm of the century, just swept across the U.S. this past weekend. A ton of cancellations as far as travel goes. You take a company like Southwest Air, which canceled 70% of their flights yesterday and is probably getting ripped pre-market. Let's take a quick look. Does that mean that Southwest is a terrible stock and going to go down more? Well, they seem to be continuing to buy airlines. The Dow is only down, I think, 6% this month, or 6% in the year, sorry, whereas the NASDAQ is down 33% in the year. So the Dow still has companies that people are willing to invest in. You look at like Caterpillar, John Deere, you look at U.S. Steel, Cleveland Cliffs, materials plays. Again, even in a maybe recession coming next year, these stocks are going to be stronger. So I'm looking at Southwest Air. I'm looking at the last 2 weeks of trading. There is inflow. Even though the stock went from 38 to 36, we are now sitting at $34 this morning. Institutions, some large banks are going to say, okay, it is time to buy. Now, will they go head first into a position in Southwest Air today? No, but they'll start picking at it. They'll take a couple thousand shares here, 10,000 here. Wait a day, wait 2 days. Let it consolidate. Again, there's another huge storm that's attacking the country that'll happen about a week from now. So again, we have some warm air coming across the country, and then it's going to be followed up by the same thing that we just saw. Next, storm of the century I covered. Okay, China, COVID. China's COVID is out of control. Now, here's the thing. The country is lessening restrictions. So this whole previous year when they just locked down people, and if you're a traveler, you go directly into quarantine. They did away with that rule. So you have the China COVID. I think they have, they're expecting 5 million deaths from it. They have about 5,000 deaths today. If you haven't seen the COVID numbers here in the US, they're spiking as well, up 57% from last week. Understand, we have a threefold pandemic. So not only do you have COVID, you have the respiratory, what is it, VSR or VRS, and then you also have flu season, which I mentioned I am hit by the flu, and it is extremely tough to focus. It's extremely tough to have energy when you're hit with the flu. So again, we have a triple pandemic going across the U.S. right now. Oh, okay, Tesla fans, you're in trouble. What happened? Tesla just halted production of their Shanghai factory. Again, COVID concerns. Shanghai factory halted. What's that doing to Tesla? Probably down 4 or 5% pre-market. So whereas a couple of weeks ago, I had the 150 puts, and I was like, I'm not sure we're getting to 150. I believe Tesla is sitting at, let's see where Tesla is this morning, 116 maybe pre-market, down 4.9%. It's at 117 and 13 cents pre-market. Let's remember, Kathy was loading the boat last week. Tesla 142, loaded the boat. Tesla 136, loaded the boat. Tesla at 117, could it go lower? Well, I mean, the charts are telling us if Tesla continues to draw back and the NASDAQ continues to draw back, that Tesla can go to the $70 mark. Do I think that's going to happen? Not necessarily. Let's remember 5 months ago when Tesla was $310, I made a video saying Tesla's forward PE was $72 and it should be more in the range of 30. Where did Tesla's PE fall on Friday? 30.48. Now that Tesla's down 4% pre-market, that's going to take their PE down to about 27 this morning, their forward PE. So again, some people might say, okay, Tesla's screaming buy this morning. Now, would I say that? Heck no, because it's too risky. But would a longer-term investor say that? Especially, let's remember, Kathy from ARK has multiple funds, and they were multiple funds invested in Tesla when it had its run-up previously. It had ARK, and then ARK owned the other fund, and the other fund owned more Tesla. And then you had like an Innovations owned by Tesla. Then you had some other fund which shouldn't have even had Tesla in it, had Tesla in it. So it wouldn't surprise me if she starts loading up. Next, we have the inverse yield curves. You've heard me talk about it before, but now inverse yield curves are going strong for 8 months. 8 months of inverse yield curves, and an inversion is telling you recession is coming. So although the Fed seems to be doing a decent job with their rate hikes, and they do forecast it so that everybody knows, it's like we already know 25 basis points is coming the next time they meet. Anyway, okay, let's move past that. Job freezes coming across more tech stocks. Now, this started early in the summer. It's continued throughout quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. Now, the good news about job freezes or job, no new hires is these companies are working on their books. These companies know what's expected for their sales numbers. They know what's expected for their forecasting. They know what analysts pay specific attention to. So they've been working on this issue for like over a year. So understand when earnings come out for quarter 4, and a lot of people are like, oh shit, it's just going to be terrible. It won't be as terrible as some people say. Now, here's something that is eye-catching. Here's something that can definitely drag down our economy and the market. Consumer credit. Consumer credit is at an all-time high, meaning you're all using your credit cards, you all have mortgages or car loans or things like that, and everybody's just getting ripped. And here's the special thing about it. There are companies like Affirm, right? Buy now, pay later. You can use the Affirm when you're purchasing something on Amazon. Buy now, pay later. Well, Affirm 3 months ago started mentioning that people weren't making their payments, that they were missing their payments. I made a posting on Twitter over the weekend. I believe the numbers in the UK as far as missed mortgage payments, car payments, and credit card payments is on the rise, and it's not a slow rise. It is a steep rise. So when that catches up with us here in the US, you're going to see a lot of people struggle individually, and you're going to see companies get hurt. Now, companies that could get hurt could be like an Amazon that sells products. It can be smaller companies. It can be smaller tech as well. If you buy a product and you don't pay for it, that company that you purchased the product from is going to have bad debt write-off on their finances and things of that nature. Next, okay, this is the interesting thing. I like to follow the DEX, and I mentioned last week we were at 3 red DEX days, even though the market rebounded one of the days. We hit 4, we hit 5. The DEX on Friday was extremely small. So the negativity on the DEX was extremely small. So then I look at the put-call ratio going out to this Friday. Now understand, it used to be almost a 2-to-1 as far as 2-to-1 puts over calls, 200%, 100%. However, that has narrowed. The put-to-call ratio is slightly over 1%. So yes, there are more individuals and more puts being bought than calls, but it is a very narrow margin, which tells me that we're in store for more choppiness this week. And then if you go out a few weeks to the January expiration, 3rd week in January, actually, if you look at that, calls outnumber puts by a small margin. So again, it's telling me we're going to have choppiness in the market. Starting this Wednesday, I'm doing a new challenge on Robinhood. I'm putting $370 in. I'm going to call it my 1 contract challenge because I'm only buying 1 contract at a time. It's for a smaller account. I'm going to buy 1 contract. I'm going to wait for great entry. I wish people wouldn't shake their head at me sometimes, but shit, that happens. I usually go in, I'll buy 5, 10, 15. I'm going to do it the small way. I'm going to try and make $20 or $30 a day. I'm using a cash account. Now, this isn't like the past where I'm like, okay, I'm buying 1. I'm going to double down or triple down. It's going to be 1 contract. 1 contract. If I pay $50, I'm going to look to get $70 out of it. $20, $30 a day is going to add up. So if you have a small account, you want to join our Discord, please do. We were offering a holiday sale. It's not December 30th yet, so you can still get on our Discord for half off. Understand, of the members on our Discord, not everybody uses the Flow and Algos room. The Flow and Algos room is something that people pay unusual whales. Oh, cool, man. It's some people pay unusual whales, $50, $70 a month. Capital trading, they charge $100 a month to give you golden sweeps, to give you unusual activity, to give you bullseye trades. We offer that for the low cost of $35 and half off if you join before the end of the year. But anyway, okay, so that tells you about the flows and puts and the ratio, the 1 contract. All right, Santa Claus rally, okay? Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Understand, there is still potential time. Now, there are a lot of negative influences that I mentioned. The COVID spiking in China, the fact that we have COVID, the flu, and the respiratory virus here in the U.S. And again, I have personal family members that have COVID. In Miami, I'm battling the flu right now. So yeah, it's going to hit everybody. The cold spell that's going across the U.S. makes me want to look at the ETF BOIL, which is natural gas. If we look at BOILs went from a high of 51 all the way down to 20. It could easily rebound to maybe 30 or something to that extent. So I'm looking for a 50% gain. Understand the IVs on the BOIL ETF. There's a huge spread from the bid to the ask. All right, before I die here, and you guys, if you have any questions, please ask the questions on the side. I will try and answer them. Robinhood, you can day trade. Here's the catch about Robinhood. And I spoke to them last week. I said to them, cash account. And they said, yes, if you have funds and when your funds settle, we can change your account from a margin account to a cash account. The only thing you can't have is level 3 options. Do we want level 3 options? If you're not writing covered calls or selling them, you don't need that. If you're buying naked calls, meaning I'm buying one call contract, I'm selling one call contract, I'm buying one put contract, I'm selling one put contract, then yes, you can trade on Robinhood using a cash account. Just reach out to them. Again, not a huge fan of Robinhood, but that's where my money is right now, so I'm transferring my account. All right, so let's talk about the SPY. I don't see any heavy divergence, bullish or bearish. I looked at the VIX. Has a ton of call activity and has a ton of put activity. So they kind of offset. I look for bearish and bullish divergence. Again, the DEX was red on Friday, but I've looked at the DEX for a number of months now. As the DEX gets a little smaller, meaning the activity was very narrow on Friday, that could be the sign for a reversal. So as we mentioned, Santa Claus rally, is it possible? A lot of people say every time things spike, I'm going to sell the spike. Not a bad strategy. Remember, Santa Claus rally was 7% increase in the market in a 3-day span. So if we see day 1, understand, let's not fight day 2 and day 3. Do I think that's going to happen? Not necessarily. I see a bunch of choppiness. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about the SPY ranges. I'm going to go over the SPY ranges from 371 to 392. So you have the full spectrum. If the market throws up on itself, you're going to know the potential downside risks in each level of support and resistance. If the market goes up and we see a Santa Claus rally, you need to know where the support and resistance is as well. So we'll go over it, and then I'll speak about the more narrow range and my prediction for today. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know, I just have this feeling that I'm going to be dead on today as far as my SPY prediction. So on the low end, okay, if we end up rescinding, we'll go back to 371. Next level higher, 378. 375, 378, 381. Important number 381 because I do think we're going to see 380 or a little below that today, maybe 379.90 as a low. Next step, level higher, 385. Understand, if we break 385 today, tomorrow, then you're going up to 388 on the SPY. I do think the SPY would reject 388 because there's big supply zone in the dark pools at that level. But if we happen to break 388 and we're seeing a Santa Claus rally, you can see the SPY jump up to 392.50. But specifically, let's talk about today's range. Let me just pull up, here we go. We're pulling up a 4-hour chart on the SPY. So I'm going to show you where I think today's range could be. I think on the top side, we could potentially see right here, 387.89. Now, why am I saying that? As you see my cursor move across, you can see all of this activity right here for the last couple of weeks is right above. We gap down to this lower level. So again, there's going to be a struggle right in this area right here. We could fill that gap and then reject 388. So again, if I was to say on the high side today, I'd say possibly 387.89 would be my high number. Now, if we're looking at the low number, I think we could possibly see a number right around, let's go right around here, 380.36, just under 380. So 380 would be my range of trading this week until it breaks one way or the other. I would say 380 on the low side. I would say right about here, 387.89. Understand, I keep coming up with the same numbers when I find this spot. So 387.89 and about 380 on the low side. So about a 2% movement in the SPY. That's what I would expect from today. If it takes today and tomorrow to make that happen, so be it. But understand, when I find support, if I see support just under 380, I can say to myself, even though I'm not a bear or a bull, I'm looking to make money. And if I'm looking to make money and I see us bounce off 379.87, right, I would ride that all the way up to about 384, which would be about 4 points on the SPY, which would be slightly over 1%. If I see the SPY ride up to the top side, which I just showed you, 387.89, then I would say, okay, let me wait for it to reject. It rejected, great. If it rejects that number, I think we're going back down to 384. Again, 384 is a key number, probably sitting right there pre-market. No, we're sitting at 383. So again, the numbers to look at, 381 would be support. If we break slightly under there, you're looking at maybe 379.86, something like that. If we break above, the SPY really has to break 385 to hit the next number of 388 or slightly there under 387.90, something to that extent. Again, I mentioned the airlines. If you look at the airlines pre-market, I mean, let's just take a look at UAL. Let's take a look at, let's see where we are here. Well, Disney's a good stock to look at pre-market. Disney's flat pre-market, some inflow. Again, Dow stocks, I'd be looking at Disney. I'd be looking at materials plays like XLI, which is the industrial sector. I would be looking at Starbucks. I would be looking at a company like Texas Instruments or oil. Oil is going to be stronger. So if you're looking for something and you think the market is somewhat choppy, understand with this cold spell going across the U.S., with a cold front hitting Eastern Europe and Russia and Ukraine, with the war going on, with China, COVID spiking, I would be looking at something simple. I like to simplify my investments rather than saying, okay, well, Tesla's a buy because Kathy likes Tesla and it's so beat up. It was $198 2.5 weeks ago, and it's $116 this morning. And yes, they shut down their factory in Shanghai, but Elon's smart. I'm not looking for a long-term investment strategy. I'm looking short-term. I want to make money today. I want to feel good about my trade. So if I'm looking at certain stocks or ETFs to potentially trade in a bullish direction, because let's remember, the Dow was up 180 points pre-market. It's only up 76 points right now. If we see it back at 180 points today, and again, the Dow would likely be stronger than some tech stocks, then I'm going to look at Boeing. Why? Because although the airlines are being affected by the weather, Boeing has back orders for years. They probably have like billions of dollars of back orders on the books. I'm going to look at the XLE energy. So you talk about COVID going rampant in China. However, China is making their policies more lax. More lax policies means back to normal, even though more people are getting sick, right? And that means their use of oil is going to go up. Now, here's the catch about China. China said for the month of November, they had 9 deaths. 9 deaths. But they have reporters in China going and showing pictures of morgues, and morgues have more bodies than they can know what to do. There are body bags that are just stacked up. So they're talking about only 9 deaths from China. Well, China's lying to us yet again. That is what China does. No, what China's not lying about is they are making their COVID policies more lax, meaning they're not quarantining you when you go to China. You arrive in China. It used to be a 2-week quarantine. Not doing that anymore. However, COVID's running rampant. So, I mean, it's mixed in the market. I'm going to be paying special attention to the DEX today. Again, the numbers that I'm looking at are 380 on the downside. I would be saying maybe 387 on the upside, a 7-point range on the SPY, about 2%. So I'm going to not play around. Right now, I call it no man's land. When we're in between 2 ranges, one of support and one of resistance, and it can go either way at open, that to me is called no man's land. That to me is very dangerous. If you'd like to check out something I like to do, let me see if I have time to add it. Present. I'm going to show you Discord real quick, and I'm going to show you how we look at the dark pool levels, because a lot of people don't understand what the dark pool. Understand the dark pool, over 50% of today's volume in the market or trading activity in the market happens, and you and I don't even know about it because it's happening in the dark pool, meaning it's like an off-site purchase or an off-market purchase if you're buying a house. It's not publicly listed, but there is a transaction taking place. So what would I do? I would go on Discord. Again, you can join our Discord. There should be a link below. We're doing a holiday special. I'm going to go into the Flow and Algos room. Now, if you don't know how to use the Flow and Algos room, the one room above it tells you how to. It shows you the 10 largest option flows of the day, big flow, and you enter the symbol. You could look at that flow. So anyway, I'm going to look at the dark pool. I'm going to add it so you guys can see it. Oh, you guys can see it. Look at that. Okay. So I'm already one step ahead. So what would I do? I would type in TR DP levels, well, TR hyphen. I always type in the wrong thing. DP level of the SPY. DP means dark pool. So we're going to bring that up and let's see where the dark pool level of the SPY is. Hopefully that works. Let's try it again. Sometimes it doesn't work. DP, maybe it's levels. Sometimes I like to leave off an S. Yeah. So that was it. So as what we can see, and hopefully, let's see, make sure you guys can share this with me. Okay, I'm going to start at the bottom of the charts. This is pretty important. Huge dark pool level of $31.48 billion worth of the SPY, right at 380.49. So what does that tell everybody? I mean, I wish I could have people, raise and answer questions. That tells me that is probably an extreme support level. So I'm going to look very specifically what the number I mentioned previously on the live stream, just under 380, because I mentioned when we hit a specific level of support or resistance, it tends to go over or under by about 20 to 40 cents. So the fact that this dark pool level is, and I'll give you the specific number, $380.49. Understand the dark pool under that is very light. So if we break down 380 and we go lower towards the end of the year and we have 3 more outflow days, we're likely to go back to 375, probably 371. So if you're a bear, I would say put it on your radar, 4% decline in the SPY by the end of the year, and that's only 1 week left. So again, the bear would be saying 3 to 4% downside action. The bull would say to myself, okay, SPY level 384, we're sitting slightly there under. The next level up is 388.11. Again, I mentioned plus or minus 20 cents. So when I said we might have a problem at our top side today at 387, I think it was 89 or something like that. That's 20 cents under this dark pool level. But understand, volume is pretty good at 391, 395, 399. So if you are going to be a bull, there is going to be levels of resistance. But again, pay specific attention to the $380 number, because if we break below that, as you can see, there isn't much dark pool supply under that, probably not till 375 or 371. So if we break 380 to the lower side, it's likely you're going to see numbers like that. With that said, let me just check if we have any questions on the side. And that's just one way to use the Discord. I could just show you one other tool I like to use and what I would use going today. So I'm going to close this down. What am I going to look at? I'm going to look at Apple. So I'm going to look at Apple. I'll check out the net flow of Apple. And then I'm also going to check out the algo flow, because algorithms will tell you if there's any type of bullish or bearish divergence on Apple. So I got 2 charts I'm looking up. And again, you guys can do all this. You join Discord. A lot of people pay $100 for these services and levels. Now, what can you see in Apple? All right, well, let's go through it. The white is the price in Apple. Let's make sure you guys can see this with me. You can. All right, so how do I break down the net flow for Apple? We can see white is the actual Apple price. Green is the cost for calls, which you can see is close to the price of Apple. What you can see down here is the price for puts, or the premiums for puts, is a lot lower. And you can actually see this probably drop. You can see in here there has been demand for Apple. So that is a net bullish chart for Apple right now. I'm going to go down to the next chart and just look at the algo flow. Okay. So we look at the algorithms. Again, they generally match up. If you saw the stock price up here and the algo down here, you would say bearish divergence, meaning the algo is a lot smaller. But the algo is matching up with the price. So that's telling me it's falling in line. I don't think I'm going to see a significant drop, nor do I think I'm going to see a significant spike in Apple. You know what? One other thing I like to look at, and this is great as well. Let me just pull this one up. I think it's called Top Flow. I'm in capitals for some reason. I do that sometimes. So Top Flow. Now, Top Flow isn't talking about any specific stock. Can you guys see this? It's talking about the biggest flows from Friday. The biggest flows, all encompassing stocks, ETFs. You could see the green is the premiums that people are paying. So let's just go over a couple of the biggest flows, and you can write these down and see if they match up. NVIDIA, okay? So that would be a positive for NVIDIA, positive for Amazon, positive for Apple, positive for Disney, Google, XLI, which I mentioned, which is the industrials ETF. And then you have energy right here, ExxonMobil. You also have tech plays, SQQQ, which is the inverse of the tech. TQQQ would mean you thought tech was going up. SQQQ means tech is going down. So what should we see on this side? A lot of tech stocks. First of all, you have the SPX, which is the S&P 500. Then we're looking for tech stocks on this side to match up against the SQQQ over here. You're seeing Microsoft. But if you notice the size or volume, a lot more bullish volume than bearish volume. And this recently changed. So you have the S&P 500, you have the SPY, the Qs, Microsoft. Of course, you have Tesla. Did they know the factory was closing in Shanghai? I don't know. You have the XLE Energy, but it's really small, Dollar Tree and Google. So again, our Discord allows you to look at all of these things. I'm just going to check and see what kind of questions we have on the sidelines right now, see if I can answer some questions. And then I'm going to head over to Discord and give some more insight, specifically what I'm looking to potentially trade today. Let's remember on Discord, we've got Romeo, who does live streams twice a week. Love, who's a professor, gives her insight and helps teach people how to basically trade a little smarter. Me, my biggest issue is my paper or scissor hands. I can mention 4 trades last week, 2 bullish, Boeing and XLE that I should have held on longer. I can mention 2 bearish trades, Tesla and Apple, that I should have held on longer. Again, I secured profit 20, 40, 60, 20%, whereas it could have been 200, 500 on those Apple puts. And the SPY puts probably could have brought in 150. Again, so I'm leaving a ton of money on the table. It's extremely frustrating, but I'm a winning trader. It would be so much worse if I was trading losing trades in this market. Again, let me just see if we have any questions. I don't see any questions today. So again, meet you over on Discord. Not sure if we have any live streams today, but hopefully we do. If not, we'll go into tomorrow. Remember, shortened week today. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday leading into the New Year's holiday weekend. So probably lighter volume. If there is going to be any substantial trading, I'm looking for it to happen today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Again, Friday, more of like a holiday trading. And then we get into the new year. Remember, tax harvesting, meaning a lot of people that have losses in specific stocks this year. Remember, the NASDAQ is down 33%. A lot of those stocks that have been beat up will probably get a little beat up, little more before the end of the year, because tax harvesting, what they do is they sell it December 27th. I'm selling my my Tesla stock. I'm going to accept the loss. And when would I re-enter Tesla? January 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. The same with a lot of down stocks. All right, man. See you guys later. Appreciate you hanging with me this morning. Please see me tomorrow.